That looks really good. Maybe I should try to learn how to do this.
Vindication!
Ladies, gentlemen, and monsters of all ages, this whole Return to World event has been quite interesting to follow, even just seeing how many people have flocked back for new playthroughs in Monster Hunter World, with all Capcom needing to say to cause it being, hey, by the way, we just want to remind you guys that this game exists, and that was all it really took. But one notable thing that has come up during it is the beginning of a brand new journey with the Monster Hunter series from Asmongold, who is a big streamer, for sure. The thing about bigger streamers, though, is that most people in the gaming sphere have an opinion on them one way or another. Some of these opinions are based on a passing glance, others based on hours of watching content, but the opinions vary a hell of a lot, and part of a result of that I've seen going around is people jumping on certain bandwagons that exist already within the Monster Hunter community in relation to specifically this, that I have never seen be quite as loud as they are right now, and it's things like this. To paraphrase what you can read on screen, the Monster Hunter community is simultaneously the most welcoming and most gatekeeping community at both extremes. When you are brand new, everyone will be nice as all hell to convince you to start playing the game. Then they'll be willing to offer you some advice when you first start, but the further you get into your first Monster Hunter game, the more that sort of lessens down, the less willing people are to assist you. Of course, there are those of us who are always patient and willing to help newer hunters, but there are simultaneously those who gain some sort of enjoyment out of making fun of newer hunters for how slowly they are learning, like, oh, I could have done that when I was only 3 hours in, you're dumb, for how bad they are in comparison to someone else that maybe has hundreds or even thousands of hours. And in this commenter's experience, a ton of hate at the concept that they started playing the series with Monster Hunter Rise, and that is possibly the worst thing to insult someone for, really, because how on earth would someone who has never played a Monster Hunter game before even know what it means to start with the one that they start with? Nor should it even matter, because it doesn't. Monster Hunter is Monster Hunter. Every game has differences, some of them quite a lot, but we're all part of the same community, and while it can be lovely a lot of the time as a community, I wish it was that lovely consistently. That said, how does this relate to Asmongold then? Well, we've seen similar reactions to him on both sides of the aisle as well. Lots of people offering help, lots of people insulting him, not learning more quickly about the game in various aspects, and just people who would rather keep quote-unquote big streamers and their normie audience out of their community. I don't even want to show you the message that came from, but you can assume what it means based off of that alone. And the thing is, that's just a big generalization. Big streamer means big audience, simple as that, and big audience tends to mean a lot of variance of people that are actually watching, as no human is exactly like another. A lot of people watching Asmon's World content aren't even necessarily his regular viewers, but just people with an interest in Monster Hunter looking to experience it through his new player lens. And this comment, through the specific wording of it, almost makes it sound like it's from an AI, actually sums it up pretty well. Asmongold, until this point, had full stop refused any attempts from his chat to get him to play Monster Hunter at all and give it a shot. He said it didn't look like a game he'd enjoy, and that was as simple as that for him. And that happened for the better part of 6 years, until he has now finally decided to give it a shot, and now, after years of that game doesn't look good to me, he is saying in front of thousands and thousands of people that it actually is good, that it isn't actually clunky like he thought. And while, as I said, yes, a decent portion of the Monster Hunter viewership he gets is people who like Monster Hunter already, there is also just his core viewer base, which mostly had ignored Monster Hunter for similar reasons that he did himself, and those viewers, seeing his opinion shift, could easily be pushed towards trying out the game and series for themselves, which as far as I'm concerned is just always a good thing. New Monster Hunter fans is good for all current Monster Hunter fans. Then we just have some responses about the whole UI thing that we talked good about the last time, which is, to put it simply, Asmon's belief, that I agree with personally, is that the UI in Monster Hunter World, as far as the smithy, the forging and upgrade, all of that stuff, the info on the weapons itself, all that is just not very good. And the main reason, as well, it is manageable to use for someone who already understands all the various systems, it is not good at all at onboarding new players without outside resources to understand it. For example, not something that he actively complains about, but something that I can see being a struggle for him, that the game isn't very good at all at dealing with, is the base concept of sharpness. Earlier on, it tells you that the, more sharpness is good, how low sharpness is bad, but it doesn't really tell you why. And the Forge and Upgrade UI show a sharpness bar, but they don't give you the actual number of hits in a numerical form. You have to sort of squint at it and try and work it out compared to other weapons bars and sort of see for yourself what you think it'll be. And on top of that, it does not give you any information about the massive increases in damage from one sharpness level to the next. So to a new player, there doesn't appear to be any reason that a white sharpness weapon with 1000 raw would be better than a blue sharpness weapon with 1001 raw, even though it is factually true that the white sharpness weapon wins out by a good margin. The game just does not tell you so many things properly within its own UI that give players that already understand it and have this outside information a significant advantage in the gameplay part of it too as a result, as obviously the person that understands which weapon is better will do more damage. And that's really the point that I wanted to get across with this stuff. That said, we've got all of this stuff out of the way, and I've got good news for you all today. We are going to dive in and analyze 2 more recent hunts from Asmongold himself, and the first one of these is just a pretty big fan favorite monster that one of our own channel members would never stop talking about if I gave him the chance.
This is not just any monster. This is the perfect monster. 2 pounders, generously coated in hot, sticky, explosive slime. One on the head too, so you have all the options. Shiny, sturdy, even shell coats the creature. Agile, strong, perfectly balanced. A roar that makes an angel choir blush. And an overall form that, well, I'll tell you about it when you're older. This is not just Brachydios. This is Brachydaddy. I like the monster a lot. He's my favorite. Okay, back to Cotton.
The second hunt today is a different monster, and I would say it's probably what I would label as a major milestone in the Great Sword user experience that he's having for 5th generation, which is the first new monster fight that he went into with the intention of genuinely using and understanding the shoulder tackle. And of course, as people have talked about his use or lack of it for this ability or his entire playthrough so far, I thought it would of course be fun to just have a look at him adjusting to it properly. Starting off with everyone's favorite obsidian boxing kangaroo covered in the liquid that they put inside of glow sticks, Brachydios. Alright, we'll have to see how we adjust to this early on, because I think Brachydios is a really fun place to step in with people, because he's, on top of being just an absolutely beloved monster, because he's awesome for so many different reasons, just the concept of the way that the slime works is very unique within the game, but also very learnable. It's something that you can see very easily. You can watch the colors changing and learn about the explosions, and with that, it becomes something that you can understand very quickly. Okay, he did not roll it off there. He got very close to rolling it off there. I think he was 1 roll short of removing the blast. But then the hit for double damage, well, not double damage, but it gets the extra pop because of the blast. For anyone who doesn't know, if you have Blast Blight on you and you get hit by an attack, it just instantly triggers the Blast Blight, which is why sometimes you might think you get one shot during fights with Blast, but what's actually happening is it's an almost one shot that just also triggers the Blast and then does that bit of extra damage. Ooh, he got just unlikely flinched as he was climbing up there, but it didn't mean anything big. He does have Blast Blight and low health. If he gets hit here, he's just dead with this health level. And here, oh my god, okay, I thought he was a little bit closer than that. I do like how much he tends to use Health Booster. Like, obviously a big reason for why he's using Health Booster is he doesn't know about the other mantles and specialized tools and stuff, really. He only has the ones that were just sort of given him to the game sort of manually, really, which the Health Booster is the main one of, other than the Ghillie Mantle, of course, which he has used in the past. I've seen him use it. But the Health Booster is a lot better than people give it credit for. Because, well, it doesn't help in specific situations. It won't, like, save your life in a hunt. It won't make you able to do more damage in an obvious sense, but what it does is it gives you non-consumable healing. It's healing on a timer, and yes, it does happen slowly, but if you do what he does here and you just stand in it while you're fighting normally, you can get free heals, which means that you don't need to stop doing damage to heal, and that in itself creates the opportunity for more damage. If you know you're going to get hit by the monster, then having the ability to heal for free is really good. Not only does it not consume the actual limited potions that he has in his bag, even though he could of course refresh them by going to the box, but it also means that he can keep actively hunting and damaging the monster while healing, as long as he doesn't, you know, get murdered while he's standing in it. Because that's the worst situation with health boosters. You put it down instead of healing a normal potion, and then you get hit and die. But I've not seen that happen to him yet so far personally, though he's come close a couple of times. Here you can see Brachy focusing on McConnell, his cat, which gets him a nice free tenderize attack on the arm. Might get slimed here, gets out of it nicely. Doesn't even have the debuff. That could have been worse. He just shoulder tackled that roar entirely accidentally. I mentioned that we're going to be talking about his shoulder tackle learning journey. That hasn't happened yet. That happens before the next hunt, not this one. That was just he rolled and then pressed triangle, which automatically does a shoulder tackle, and it happened in perfectly time with the roar. Obviously, it didn't give him much of anything because it was the leaving roar, is the roar that he does before he changes zones, but it was cool to see it happen.
Maybe after this, I need to just go and get on him like this.
Yeah, that's a pretty good move.
Oh, they blow up on me? Yeah, they did.
Obviously, he won't have seen enough of the moveset to realize this quite yet, but Brachy's most dangerous moves all come from the front side. He does have a couple of tail moves that he can do, but they're all easy telegraphs, easy timings, very standard stuff. He doesn't really use slime with his tail, which means that it's very easy to just sort of get in there when he does any sort of attack and get free damage on the tail, and that's sort of a good way to hurt him early on, especially as if you can get the long section of his tail, like the sort of less bulbous section, it is orange numbers. It is a weak spot up until that big mace-like thing at the end, which is of course quite hard. In a weird way as well, he's getting some slight buffs from having Resuscitate while just consistently getting Blast buff as well, which is sort of funny. It's obviously not something he's purposely doing. There's no way he would even be aware of the fact that he's doing that, really. But it keeps popping up on the corner, and I just find that funny. Oh, free sleep from the cat. Good stuff. Free loot. Is he going to sharpen before he goes? He's just finishing the health booster and sharpen. Okay. Then he should go right in. I want to see him hit a proper true charge / wake up hit here. I have seen him learn the no, he just keeps going for the one charge. It's fine. It's fine. It's serviceable. It's okay. But I actively watched him learn how to do the spacing, the roll spacing for the true charge / wake up. And I want to see it at some point. Maybe he just thought he was running out of time on that sleep. It would have been pretty close. That's fair enough. And if he's right, then that was definitely the right move. But I want to see him put that tech to use. That's just my personal wishes. There goes the tail. He has been focusing that tail. It is not a hard tail to cut off because it's not a main thing that he uses for combat, but it does actually make the fight a bit easier too. It reduces those tail attacks, which means you can even still attack that tail if you want to, but he wants more loot. So instead of continuing to go for that weak spot, which has been neutered in its damage potential, he is instead going to just move on to a new body part. Like he said there, the arms.
Oh my God.
Ooh, just missed the iframes on that one. Getting very low off of it too. The blast proc did not help him either. Thankfully he didn't get more blast from the slime that was on the ground where he landed. Could use a nitro toad on the floor. He just did accidentally, except it's not going to hit Brachydios. I think the only toads that I've seen him actively, purposefully kick are the paratoads, which he learned the hard way, and the sleep toads just fully out of spite, not in a situation where it actually helped him.
Yeah, this boss is easy. This isn't a big deal. I'm not worried at all. I could make a mistake, but I'm pretty confident in being able to beat this guy.
Yeah, from what I've been seeing from his gameplay so far, he has enough knowledge of how to avoid the attacks for the most part, and how to recover when he does get hit, that he should be fine. Like, his armor levels are at a point where he's not even two-shottable, and I think if you're not two-shottable by Brachydios, the only way that you die is by not actually backing off to heal when you do take damage. Because it can be really easy as a hunter to get super greedy, and even if you take damage, you keep going for it. But that's how you die, and obviously it's fine to die once in a while, but if you get greedy all the time, then you'll die all the time. You need to choose your moments of greed and feel like, is this worth it, you know? And a lot of the times, if you're just sort of like going for a clutch claw grab onto Monster's arm, that's probably not worth it. If you're getting a true charge off on the face, however, that might be worth it. I think there's levels to it.
Like now I see whenever he attacks, you have to like aim where his leg is if you want to hit his arm.
There, yeah. I mean, he actually explained that extremely well, all for his own right there. Is understanding the way that monsters move with their general abilities allows you to position yourself ahead of time for where you want to hit them, especially for Greatsword, which is a big thing that I've talked about with the fact that he's playing Greatsword in the first place, is that it lets him learn more about the monsters themselves and their actual patterns and movesets than more of the technical weapons do, because the way that Greatsword works is to do well with Greatsword, you need to look at how the monster moves, adjust to how the monster moves, learn it, and understand it on a deep enough level that it also just enhances your ability to dodge monsters on its own. Your ability to deal damage is based on the same knowledge as your ability to avoid damage, and that's actually a really good way to learn the game in my opinion. Oh, he's got the clutch claw flinch on him. He's going to do it. He does. He recognizes the animation at this stage, I think. He's going for the arms. He wants the arms. He recognizes them as a part that is obviously quite special and unique to the monster. And that's actually something worth noting. A lot of the times, if a monster has a part that looks really different on it to other monsters' versions of the same part, like if you see Brachydios with arms that no other brute wyvern has, generally speaking, breaking those arms will result in a pretty solid part to have access to as far as crafting materials. He's handled it quite well. One thing I'd like to add on from the last time that we watched Asmongold play, we were doing the Brachydios hunt, and I was talking about the whole enrage and fatigue states and how, like, ideally as a hunter you sort of want to ride the waves of enrage and fatigue, but one thing that I didn't mention there is, well, one, there's of course exceptions to this, like the Savage Devil Joe who's literally always enraged, so you don't really get a choice, but there's also things like as monsters get lower in health, they tend to enrage more frequently. As a result, it means that you have to have these more intense situations more often, the less health the monster has, and so it sort of pushes you to get more aggressive with the monster the lower it is, even in more dangerous situations, and it's sort of like a test of your ability to understand the different phases of a monster. Like, yes, you should you should probably try to spend the majority of your time doing actual damage when the monster is either neutral or fatigued, because when they're enraged, they're a lot more dangerous. But there are points where you have to understand how they work in Rage too. You have to understand their extra moves, their extra speed, their extra damage, and know when you can make those little maybe less advisable moments, because when a monster's enraged and near death, that's the only time you're going to kill it. Unless you just walk away and let it sleep again.
Jesus, bro, I'm beating the shit out of him.
Yeah, that was actually a really solid true charge. Oh, it's regular Wrath. Is that regular Rathalos? Wait, so this quest is Brachydios, Rathalos, and Azure Rathalos? What a crazy combination. No wonder they're helping kill the Brachydios. They want him to get out of here so they can get a third Rathalos in.
So if I use the Ghillie Mantle, I get locked out of... I don't know how this works.
Okay. That was an interesting thing he just said. And trying to extrapolate what he meant from the few words that we got there, I think he's under the impression that with the Ghillie Mantle on, he can't use Health Booster.
Do they share cooldown?
Yeah,
Do
there
my
it is.
items share cooldown?
There it is. He thinks that they share a cooldown. He's worried they share a cooldown. The answer is no. His chat's on it right away. Nope, separate cooldown. Ghillie Mantle is Ghillie Mantle. Health Booster is Health Booster. You can use them however you want to.
Understood. Thank you.
See, that's when the chat is good, because sometimes the chat can be extremely unhelpful, sometimes the chat can be extremely aggressive towards him, sometimes it can just demand information that he does not have any access to, and then there's times where it's just, hey, I don't quite know if this works this way or not, and they're like, nope, and then it's done. He knows. Fully good. And that's when it's no longer backseating, honestly. It's backseating if you just say it for the sake of saying it and he doesn't even know what you're talking about. If he asks about a specific interaction and you say no or yes, that's not backseating, that's just being helpful. Oh, a nice good plunge attack on the Brachy. Not the ideal thing to do off of a slide, but obviously he doesn't know that you can do a regular greatsword jump attack off of it or how good those are, but it's still a lot of damage to get in there from the situation he was in.
I broke it.
Ooh, that was a real good arm break he got there in the midst of this crazy, never-ending fight. Honestly, I don't even know which Rathalos is fighting here because of the lighting of the room. I can't tell if it's a regular Rathalos or an Azure Rathalos because I see hints of blue, but sometimes it just happens in the glowing volcanic pits.
What just happened?
That's a good question. What did just happen? Was it Brachy jumping? Yeah, Brachy jumped while he was in an attack under him, so he just sort of got thrown to the floor. He did take very little damage for it, though. Okay, that is a regular Rathalos, right? That's not an Azure Rathalos. That's a regular Rathalos. I just want to clear that up. That is a regular Rathalos.
So we are out of potions right now. Which is like, this is a very not good situation to be in. But we're just going to keep fighting him.
All right, there you go. Yeah, you don't need, like, you can refill potions in this game, but especially at this stage where he has not died to Brachydios, he doesn't need to refill potions unless he dies, and obviously it is a more dangerous situation, but as I was saying earlier, there's the whole thing with, like, there's a lot of questions of greed in Monster Hunter, to put it quite simply. There's a lot of moments where you can be greedy and take an attack knowing that you're going to trade hits with the monster. You can choose to keep fighting even though you could go back and get potions just because you want to keep fighting the monster, and you need to know when to take those safely, and the safest moment that you can possibly take these greedy moments is when you've not died at all, and he hasn't, so he has no need to go out of his way to run back to the camp before he needs to. That said, He's stunned, extremely low health. He's got blast debuff. Rathalos has just returned to the fight. And somehow, oh my god, a Vespoid just paralyzed him. And his cat's woken him up, and the blast has gone off while he was in the iframe. So I'm sorry, did the blast go off while he was in the cat hitting him iframe? Oh my god. He was dead. This blast goes off here. Anything hits him here, he's dead. Cat hits him, wakes him up, gives him the iframes. Blast goes off as the cat hits him. I guess that's a thing that happens. That's crazy, because if the blast hadn't been cleared by his cat hitting him and de-paralyzing him, and the blast had gone off after he'd stood up, he would have just died. So there was, there's a lot of luck sometimes, and I'm not just like, oh, how dare you get lucky against these monsters. I just think it's such an interesting thing to watch in a new player's journey, the moments that they may not even realize when their lives were absolutely saved by the environments around them and the characters they don't even control. Oh, here we've got fatigue on Brachydios. Look how little slime he's got on his body. Look at the drool coming out of his face. He's taking this break animation. He gets a full 400 damage true charge on the head. Really, really solid. You can see this is the moment that you want to be applying as much damage as possible. Is this the Azure Rathalos? I think this one's the Azure Rathalos. I can't tell when we're in the volcanic areas which Rathalos we're fighting, but we've got more Wrath interruptions. Ooh. That was a really solid hit. Yeah, that one's the Azure. Okay. So the Azure left, the Rathalos was in the other zone. I'm honestly getting so confused about which one's attacking, but does it really matter at the end of the day? Not really. He doesn't know each of their movesets individually enough to know the difference. Oh, is it time for him to go eat a little guy? He's gonna eat a little guy? He's trying. He's just sort of looking at them. Oh, he got flinched out of it. You could have let him eat there. That's one moment that happens in monster hunts that you can see pretty frequently. Doesn't happen every hunt, but it happens often after a monster is fatigued, and if they leave a zone well fatigued, they'll often go look for a small monster to eat, essentially, where they're just a way to regain stamina. Obviously, not all of them are carnivores, and so some of them will go and eat plants. You can catch Diablos going to eat cactus sometimes, which I think is fun to watch, because he's obviously not the nicest guy or the happiest guy, but there's just this lovely, sublime nature to watching something that evil just chomp on a cactus. I think that's lovely. And those are obviously moments where you can get a lot of free damage in on a monster if you let them start the animation. They will not stop the animation until they finish it naturally or if you flinch them, so you can get a good few free hits in if you know about that system and how to use it. Oh, is going for it. He's going for the capture. You can see when we were last talking, Brachydios was leaving zones, limping away, and of course, Asmon definitely prefers the capture on these monsters, and, you know, respectable enough. Perfectly reasonable choice. Personally, I like killing the monsters. I think it's, you know, a little bit more climactic when they actually fall over at the end, but I can understand from a loot perspective, wanting to go for this to get the most best rolls at things like gems and mantles as you physically can.
That was an easy clap.
Yeah, I mean, you did really surprisingly quite good against Brachydios. He's a monster that's very able to sort of surprise new players, because as we've talked about before, a lot of monsters, based on the way their body looks, the stuff on their body, you can sort of make a lot of assumptions about how they will move, how they will attack you, what they will actually do to hurt you, and Brachydios is a bit tougher with that because of the slime. The slime takes a little bit to learn. It's obviously quite learnable, though, with the fact that the different colors represent the different timers and such, but it's just something a little bit unnatural. It's not like it's something from our world, so when you see it on a monster, it doesn't tell you what it's going to do until you actually watch it work in motion, and a lot of people don't have the patience to learn that before they get themselves carded. He here did, and that's going to be the whole Brachydios there. He seemed to enjoy it a little bit. He didn't think it was very hard, but he had a good time and done good with that. I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't think it needs to be more than that on your first time fighting a monster. You don't need to recognize all the little bits. You don't need to fall in love with it or hate it after a first time. The first time is simply a first impression, and this one left a very sort of okay one with him, I suppose. But with that concluded, we move on to our second hunt analysis of the day, and this one is slightly less of a fan favorite monster, but without having seen it myself as a hunt, I have been told this is an exceptional hunt to show his budding knowledge of the shoulder tackle, so let's have a look at Ebony Odogaron. And for context, he learned about, he's seen a couple of videos about Monster Hunter World up to this point, a couple of different Greatsword ones as well, and a couple of them have talked to him about Greatsword tackle, but until today, he had never seen one from a speedrunner. So we watched a speedrunner talking about the tackle, and obviously a speedrunner showing you the tackle in motion. They've got some pretty good clips of what a shoulder tackle can actually do for you, so he's decided to go out of his way to actually incorporate it into his moveset, finally. God, I love cutscenes like this. Like, obviously they put turf wars in the game and stuff like that, but when they do these actual, like, proper cutscene almost representations of turf wars, where it's just the monsters fighting each other in a properly choreographed manner in set positions and stuff, it just looks so freaking cool. And of course, Ebony basically one-shots regular Odogaron just to show you the sheer scale of power difference between them. Fucking tossing him back down into the Vale. He's like the Grim Reaper of the game. He came up here, found a monster that's not supposed to be up here, killed it, and then made sure his corpse went where it was supposed to be. He didn't even eat anything from the corpse there. Notice that. He did not actually consume any bits of the corpse. He killed it because he wanted to, and then he made sure its body went where the bodies are supposed to fucking go. So I'm interested to see how this goes as a general concept as well, because his original Odogaron was definitely rough. He had some issues. And that's because Odogaron is a very fast monster. Ebony is just as fast, it just has some different parts of its moveset, some more range stuff, which arguably makes it even more awkward for Greatsword, but we'll see how he handles it. Yep, you're going a step up here at this point. I don't think you've upgraded your armor much since the last time we saw you, but you are multiple monsters further in, and so they will be hitting you quite harder comparatively. What we're looking for is proper tackles, like maybe here. No, okay, he's holding it. He's holding it. Not being given any reason to tackle. That was almost a really nice true charge. He let his cat take a full combo. If he knew the combo itself, then he would have been positioned correctly, but he still got some damage off in there in between anyways. Here we have a mount, good jump attack, solid. Mount down, true charge on the face. That's the goal, of course, and almost always the goal, honestly, with a greatsword. Yeah, solid. 315. It could have been better. Could have been worse. Good bit of damage. Oh, he did it! He did it! He did it! That's the first time I've seen him do that! He purposefully tackles during the charged attack. This isn't the roll tackle he does by accident. This is monster attack incoming. I'm mid-charge. Press the button. Active learning. Hyper armors it. Barely takes damage, does start bleeding. That's just sort of how it works. You do start bleeding either way, but he tackled the actual... He did it again instantly afterwards. Oh my fucking god. Okay. It almost feels like an understatement to say he's learning shoulder tackle. It's almost like he's learned that the button's there, and then the second that he understands that the button's there and when you're allowed to use it, he understands that he can use it like this. Please tell me that sets up a big hit. Okay. He doesn't hit the true charge afterwards, but even without that, he avoided so much damage in that span of 5 seconds that honestly, if he hadn't shoulder tackled it, he was probably dead. It was probably going to be enough to get him if he didn't avoid those attacks, and so the fact that he did was really cool to see, especially as we haven't seen him do much of that up until this point. Oh, good shoulder tackle. Another one. Another one. Okay, he's learning. He held it, and he gets a big orange frickin' true charge on the weakened tail there. That was actually freaking phenomenal. He shoulder tackled twice, he judged the spacing, judged the timing, and he got an actual good true charge as a result of it without taking much damage in return. And that's the thing, is Greatsword is a weapon of trades until you learn how to use shoulder tackle correctly. Why is it teaching him about tail riders right now? Oh. Either way, it's great to see the tackle come in, because it really changes the sort of pace of Greatsword within this game. It makes it much less of a hit and run weapon and much more of a just if you understand the timings in front of you, you will do damage. All you have to do is stand there and tank hits until the opening presents itself. Oh, we have a turf war. This one doesn't come around all that often. Ebony and Nargacuga don't spend a massive amount of time on the same maps. Nargacuga's main map is the Ancient Forest. Ebony's is obviously here. But Nargacuga can come here, and so this turf war does exist. Not that we're getting a great view of it here. He was like actively running away and he changed his mind. Don't see that often. Another good couple of shoulder tackles. This is basically just like a switch is turned on for him. This isn't like a slow learning process of, oh, maybe I shoulder tackle, oh, maybe I shoulder tackle. It's now he understands what shoulder tackle means and how to use it and when to use it. And he just is. Like, he's just not taking damage from so many hits that would have hit him beforehand. Oh, we've got the sleep. This true charge decently timed, just slightly off though. Will wake him up with the initial hit, but he still gets a 600 hit on the tail, which does cut it off. That actually worked out absolutely lovely, honestly. Like, that was extremely close to not being quite right. and it was still fine. Like, obviously, he could have done more damage than he did if he had hit the proper true charge at the end instead of, you know, hitting the little dinky, the pre-true charge, but it still did a lot of damage, still cut off the tail. That's still a victory the whole way down. Another hit for like 600. He is doing damage right now. This Ebony Odogaron is not having a good experience against him. It's at this point that I just realized he actually has Stamina Thief as a skill in his set. We've been talking about the whole enrage and fatigue cycle of monsters and how good it is to take advantage of that, but there is of course a further level to it, because you can apply exhaust damage to monsters. Mostly this is done with blunt weapons, meaning a hammer or a hunting horn, other weapons that have blunt attacks like sword and shield, or things like switch axes that have exhaust files in them, or even things like great sword specific blunt attacks, which are the shoulder tackle and the little sword slap that you can do after the first level charge attack. But the thing is, that shoulder tackle with Stamina Thief, with the amount that he's using it right now, is actually doing a hell of a lot of work. He is getting more fatigue states as a result. Stamina Thief is a really good skill to actually be able to work in if you can do blunt damage, until you get to Elder Dragons, because you cannot fatigue an Elder Dragon. Everything else up until that point, it's actually a surprisingly underrated skill. Oh, the beauty. Look at it. He committed so hard to the concept of that true charge that he did like 8. Oh my god! Okay. I'm sorry. You can even see his face there. Watch his face after the attack hits. But here, he puts down the health booster. He wants to stay in the health booster to get the actual heal, but he also wants to charge up his attacks. He now knows that he can get through the charge levels by shoulder tackling, and he can keep the combo going by shoulder tackling. So he's just repeatedly tackling until the monster's in the way. Here he gets the pre-hit on the tail, and then Ebony Odogaron turns his fucking face into it for 493, slamming down on the head on top of the mushrooms. The mushrooms are in a stable environment area, meaning if you actually get a good flinch on a monster while they're on the mushroom, they will fall inside, and you get a free knockdown. Just like that. That was beautiful.
I'm assuming that, like, I can break the fire thing that he can do. I can, like, break it in some way, and that's what I want to be able to try to do.
That's a reasonable assumption, but not entirely correct. What you actually want to do with Ebony Odogaron, I mean, the tail is a fine cut, but what you really want to do is break the claws. In a similar way to how Barioth and Argakuga and Tigrex work, if you can break his front claws, he will lose a lot of his grip, a lot of his brakes on a lot of his more acrobatic movements, and then when he still tries to do them, he will slip, he will fall a little bit, it'll change his timings a little bit, make them a bit friendlier, and it will even get you extra periods of downtime for you to do extra damage to him. Otherwise, you get a bunch of flinches and breaks on other parts of his body, and he just sort of keeps going. He's like an Energizer rabbit of a monster that you can carve to pieces, and he just sort of gets back up right immediately. Oh, that was a good tackle. Entered the clutch claw pose. Can he get it from this angle? Not quite. Not quite. Just a little bit off to the left there. Here you can see Ebony Odogaron is re-entered fatigue state. That means he's fine from Dragon for a little bit. He gets the free clutch claw attack, and he's going to get a bunch of extra damage out here because the monster will just be slower and less threatening during this moment. Yes, he is tired. Good job recognizing it. Is he going to eat some food? Is that why he's here? Yeah, he's here. He's here to eat. I was just talking about this earlier. He is literally just now, he's actively hunting this Raphanos that he killed, and he was about to start consuming it, but Asmon, didn't flinch and got the knockdown with the true charge, and that's basically about the best you can hope to do for damage. Obviously, he missed the final strike. He had the right ideal, but Ebony was about to eat that Raphanos, which would have given him a good down period, but obviously, he interrupted the down period by doing damage. There's no negative to that. However, he's bleeding, he's extremely low, and the Ebony Odogaron is mobile, even if still fatigued, but, of course, the little fatigue walk is going to give him the time to heal a good amount. He still has bleed. Not good. He knows he wants to get rid of it. He's almost gotten it. There it goes. Bleed gone, health going up, and he's back in the safe zone. Perfectly fine. Except he's going to sleep again. McConnell with the really nice sleep application of the Ebony Odogaron. He's just going to manually do it. Okay, so he's not doing the roll tackle yet. I watched him actively learn it, but he's not doing it himself. He spaced it perfectly that time anyways. Freaking hit a good chunk of damage on that. Oh, attacking the cat gives him the free period to charge up the proper big attack. But is he going to come back? Is he going to come back? Just off. Just, the Ebony Odogaron did run towards him. It just ran at him at a side angle instead of the front angle. Again, a good shoulder tackle, a couple of them in a row, which will result in a proper true charge finish. Only hits a gray number. Still, again, it's the concept. This is like his second or third hunt, even like actually trying to use shoulder tackle properly, and he is getting some really good stuff done with it. It may not be perfect, but it's the concept, it's the ideas. Just like that, he's getting those extra bits of damage in because he's doing this, especially with the stamina thief on the tackle damage itself. Oh, that's unfortunate. But another turf war. That's unusual. You don't often get two unless it's been a really long time. And yes, it's been it's been a good amount of hunt timer, but I don't think it's been the amount of time I would normally associate with a second turf war. So we got a bit lucky with the actual ability for these monsters to find each other like exactly on that timer.
Okay, there we go. That's what I thought. I thought it was about to be dead. He's red now, that's bad.
And there we had the Odogaron limping away, and the Nargacuga getting enraged and looking to actually end Asmon's career. Yeah, that Nargacuga is going to follow him the entire time he's doing this. Okay, he's just going for the capture. So it's a done deal. Hunt's over, and well done. Simple as that. We actually had a lot of good examples of very solid shoulder tackle usage there. Was quite impressive considering he only really started trying to shoulder tackle properly like right before this. It's a really good just example of how new tricks can be added to a weapon, and if you have a basic grasp of how to use the weapon in the first place, then you can learn those new tricks as an additive experience for the way that you use the weapon in general, rather than just sort of having to start from the beginning with it. And honestly, I think overall, it's sort of worked for him the way this is all done. I mean, it's just about does it for today as a whole. He's conquered Brachydios the hard way, and then Ebony Odogaron shoulder tackled into the ground, much easier, using much more of the Great Sword moveset in general. And I have to say, the more I watch these, the more impressed that I am that Asmongold's just pure ability to adjust to the game that's around him, really. I mean, sure, it took him a while to learn more of Great Sword's moveset, there's no denying that for sure, but the fact that he got to the point that he did without really using shoulder tackle in the first place, especially with us having the ability to actively see how he managed to do that, the way that he learned to use more hit and run style gameplay and all that, the way that he actually had to learn more of the monster's moveset so he could find the right timings and positioning for giant charged attacks. I mean, in a way, yes, he obviously made the game much harder for himself by not using shoulder tackle earlier, but it's also sort of like training weights being thrown off in a way. He genuinely learned more about how the game works at its core by not using hyper armor for ages up until this point, and now he gets to apply the hyper armor to what he has already learned. And if you ask me, that's arguably the best way of learning things, because that core game learning can be applied to every single weapon in the game, but shoulder tackle is extremely Greatsword specific, only for Greatsword. So that sort of sums up my thoughts on all that, really. I hope you've enjoyed this then, just another chat about the community sentiment about all the stuff going on here, and of course just some more analysis of further hunts in Asmongold's journey through the game, just because I personally love watching new players advance, and my own new player memories are fresh enough that I feel like I can sort of translate veteran information through that new player lens in a way, and you guys seem to be enjoying watching that as well. Let us know down in the comments if you want more of this kind of thing then, like if you liked the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.